Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis, and this is another edition of No Capes, where I talk about comic books that don't have to do with superheroes, and Ethan either doesn't read them or doesn't review them along with me. First, we're going to talk about Abe Sapien. This is issue 3 of the Darkness something or other. I can't remember what they're calling it. But anyway, issue 3. We really get into Abe here. The town that he's in, the preacher is being, hung. Things go crazy. High level of mutations happen. Big monsters burst out. Abe's kind of there to try and help save the day. He doesn't do a very good job of it because the monster's bigger than him. Of course, the rest of the BPRD are hot on his heels. And because of that, they're there in time to fly in gunships and shoot up this giant monster that appears. But Abe escapes them. There's some more flashback to some of his conversation he had as he was leaving the base, and about who he is going to be or who he wants to be. Is he the next generation of human? Is he the next species that's going to take over? Is he part of this giant disaster that's going on, this change in the earth and all of these monsters that are erupting? Or is he simply a man with more talents trying to help save humanity? Interesting book. I'm enjoying it. I like Abe Sapien as a character. I liked him more. He was just part of the team. I worry what they're going to do with the character here. I guess my thing is, the reason I enjoy this book, but I don't like it, is because things are really uneasy with Abe. And I like Abe. I like Abe as a person. I think Abe's a cool character and stuff. And so I guess it bothers me that he is having this much problems, which I guess is a sign of a good book, in the fact that we get this, that I'm getting that kind of feeling from the character, that he's just that kind of lost and torn on what he should be doing. Anyway, Abe Sapien, issue 3. Fun stuff. Next up is a Bedlam, and this is issue 7. I had to remember which issue it was. Issue 7, starting of a new arc, new artist on the book. Really like the story. Very, very interesting. If you've stumbled upon this video and you've watched this far in, you're not a comic book reader or not into non-superhero comics, if you are a comic book reader, and you happen to watch the TV show that's out right now called Hannibal, if you like that TV show, you should be reading this book. They don't mirror each other necessarily. One's not ripping the other one off, but they have qualities to them. Our main character is much like the main character in the Hannibal TV show, in that he understands the serial killer for completely different reasons, obviously, because he used to be one himself. He used to be the worst serial killer there ever was. Supposedly he has gotten better. Of course, we see him kind of fracturing some and losing it, and we see these temptations. We see some of the stuff that he's done in the past, some of his horrible crimes, and we get this interesting thing moving forward where he's potentially going to be working for the police department. That's, to me, really interesting. That's what I'm curious about, and I'm looking forward to reading more and more of, is that interaction between him and the detective that's working for him. But things are not going to necessarily go there well there, so it'll be really interesting as far as that goes. The art, that's the big topic of conversation with this book, if you've been reading this book, because, of course, the new artist is Ryan Brown. It was Rizzomo, and we all felt like Rizzomo was really part of the book. I think Brian does a pretty good job. Ryan Brown does a pretty good job here with his line work and portraying what it is. I've seen some of the sketching and line work online. It looks really good. I don't know though, the colorist though here, and I can't remember the colorist's name offhand. It feels very muddied. A lot of texture is tried to be created using color, and I don't think it works well. It's too heavy of a palette, and I'm not real keen on that. The artwork isn't bad enough to detract me from the book. I think it's really, really good. If you haven't been reading this book, you can start with this issue and probably not be really confused. There's very little of it that is in here that is not explained enough that you can't understand what's going on. So I would say pick this book up. If you're into serial killers, it is graphic in its gore and in its detail about how horrific the character, if nothing else, the character Matter Red, how vicious he can be. I mean, at one point he's remembering his past, and he's literally wearing two people's heads like sock puppets. So yeah, he's grim. It's grim, but very, very cool, very, very interesting. Nick Spencer writes a really good weird book like this, so excited for that. Missed the art. I'm hoping that when people gel together a little more on this book, the art will improve, but still very good, and that doesn't deter me from continuing to pick up the book. Next is East of West, issue 3. We just continue to get filled in on what all is going on. Really interesting. I don't know if it's super captivating, but I'm really enjoying it. I really like the world that we're in, the world building that's going on, the larger story they're telling us by telling us these people's personal story. We find out more that's happened with Death. It looks like Death had a wife or a girlfriend. They robbed him of that and kind of screw with him a whole bunch, and so he's gunning these people all down. And then, of course, there are people who are trying to stop that. We get to see the leader of the the Japanese section. I can't remember the old empire, I think is they're called. They struck some sort of deal that stopped the whole rampaging Death thing and stuff. That's all going to start coming apart at the seams, it seems like. Death is on their doorstep, literally, to seek his revenge and to get his love of his life back, I guess. Really interesting, really cool. Like most Hickman books, I believe, it's a long story, and so if you're not patient and enjoy the little things that are there, this book could be frustrating, could be confusing, could feel slow. I still think it's a really good story. At this point, if you haven't been picking up, maybe it's something to set on and wait for trades, listen to what we have to say about it. Those of us who are talking about it, and go forward from there. But I still really like it. I love the setting, the whole kind of alt-Western kind of thing. Get quite a few of those books here now. I'm really happy about that we're getting more of that. Obviously, it goes to show that there's a lot of love for Western-flavored kind of things. Not that there isn't a lot more to this, because there is. But very interesting, very cool. Looking to see what the whole picture is. I'm figuring, that at some point I'll probably go back and read all of them together really quickly. Because like I said, I know with Hickman stuff, lots of times that's, I think, the best way to consume it if you're a bit impatient. Anyway, so the book. And lastly, of my No Capes books from 2 weeks ago, I forgot to say at the beginning, 2 weeks ago, is 10 Grand issue 2. I really love this book. I thought the first issue was rock solid. This one is also Joe storming in to save this girl in this freaky cult place. I love the descriptions that are in it. Ben Temple-Smith's artwork. It's definitely Ben Temple-Smith. It's got his colors, his watercolors, his textures in it and stuff. And then that coupled with J. Michael Straczynski's descriptions of the smells and the sounds and that sort of thing, I think go really well together to basically give us this image of this hell pit of a church where there's a demon layered up in there, and some of the consequences from that. We do see Joe die in this. He does get to Lara. We had that few moments there. That's some interesting conversation also in it, about what would you see. You only get to see somebody for 5 minutes at a time, and you may not see them for who knows how long. Again, it could be years. You know, what do you say? Do you say anything? Love all that part. Really, really great. But at the end of this, we find out that the bad guys kind of set up for him to die because they're tracking Lara. They're gonna figure out how they can snatch her out of heaven, wherever that is, and use her to use Joe as a tool of some other device. So poor Joe is really going to be stuck in the middle between heaven and hell, and who he's working for and what choices he's going to make. Could be really, really interesting. Very good miniseries. It's kind of bummed that there wasn't a sound file at the end of this one. The first issue had somebody reading it. That was kind of cool. I actually really enjoyed that. I was kind of hoping there'd be one of this too. So after I was done reading it, I could go back and listen to somebody else read it while I just looked at the pictures and flipped the pages. No such luck, but that's okay. It was still cool. It was still pretty awesome to check out and to have read. In the back of this issue is a brief 3 pages of the next book that JMS is going to be writing under his imprint of the Joe's comics. Sidekick, that looks like that could be pretty cool because I know it's going to be a story about what happens to a sidekick when his hero is killed somehow, and he slowly discovers that no one really gives a crap about him, and he's really, most people see him as a joke. They only celebrated him because of the hero and the sliding slope that he goes down while you know, when he no longer has the hero to be the sidekick too. That is, to me, an interesting, as far as superhero book goes. I'm really curious about that. That's a subject that I think is interesting, the whole sidekick and the mentality there and how that all works and stuff. So yeah, very cool. That's it for my No Capes from 2 weeks ago. I'll probably be back relatively soon with another No Capes because I've already read this next week's worth of comics. I just got to get the videos done. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.